I would like to make sure that you folks can complete your entire presentation. And so if you're fine with it, then I'd like to introduce you and we can run away and begin if that's okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so not just for our one attendee, but for anyone who will listen to the transcripts later on. My name is David Becker, and I am a member of the American Public University System. I'm also the education chair for the SEA conference for 2022. It's my pleasure to be here. And it's my pleasure to introduce two people who have what I think is an excellent presentation. I'm very interested to see it, and it looks fantastic. And so I know you've probably already seen what we have for the overview for this. Both Valentina Scott and Danilo Sakai are members of the Brazilian Space Agency, and I just wanted to highlight the last paragraph of what their presentation is about. They're faced with the challenge of redesigning the AEB school program and establishing new partnerships for projects in basic education. The Brazilian Space Agency carried out actions to map educational technologies and develop methodological proposals with a focus on STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. The objective of this is to carry out an exploratory case study of these actions based on Sustainable Development Goal 4 from the UN 2030 Agenda to contribute to the deepening of knowledge about this case and provide subsidies for the Brazilian Space Agency to effectively support the promotion of quality education in Brazil. I will, in just a moment, be very quiet. What I will do is I'll keep track of time, and I'll also see, as we're going through, to make sure if there's any questions that I can hold them for you, and then we can address any questions that arise, if that's okay. And I see Valentina and Danilo both smiling and nodding. And so I'm going to be quiet, and folks, please take it away. And I'm eager to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, David. Hello, Valentina. It's always nice to see you. So I'll take the first introductions of this presentation. I am Danilo Sakai. I am a regional coordinator for the Brazilian Space Agency, and I work very closely with our educational activities. And Valentina is our consultant that was overviewing our educational activities and understanding how we can better them and adapt them to our new realities and to the challenges that we had to overcome during the last couple of years. So hello, dear friends of the PSO and well, education enthusiasts. We are here today to present the mapping of our educational activities. Just a quick overview of what is the Brazilian Space Agency and why we are doing education. So we are a fairly old space program. We started in the late 60s, and it was mostly a military space program that at around 94, it began to shift into a civilian space program so that we can leverage other activities such as education and collaboration with other countries. It was a response to the new space wave that was reaching all of the space programs, and there the Brazilian Space Agency was created. So it is responsible for the coordination of what we call the SINDAI, which is our national system for the development of space activities, where the role of the AEB is to coordinate and follow the Brazilian space program, the PEB. So it is very important that our study cases is related by us, and it's a reference to the work that was realized by Valentina as a consultant for the United Nations, as she will explain to us in a little bit. And our space program is mostly composed of the research institutes, also our industry and universities. But outside of that, we also have educational programs because we understand it is very important not only to stimulate our population into joining us in space and STEM activities, but also to find new talents and to usher this new generation into what we are already tackling as an ongoing space activities. So please, Valentina, take it away. I will be doing the translations. I believe she can quite understand English, so feel free to ask any questions, and I will try to translate them directly as possible. Please, Valentina.
Thank you, Danilo. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here and very happy to hear. Sorry, my English é péssimo.
Not a problem at all.
Bom, então vamos para o português, que é a minha língua. Danilo trouxe o contexto, né, da Agência Espacial Brasileira dentro do Sistema Nacional de Desenvolvimento das Atividades Espaciais, e é importante lembrar que esse trabalho do qual nós estamos aqui hoje falando, do estudo de caso, ele foi realizado de agosto de 2021 a agosto de 2022, então, durante a pandemia da Covid-19, né, e afetou muito todas as atividades educacionais do Brasil e do mundo, né? Inclusive as ações educacionais que a agência desenvolvia.
Yes, so as it was said before, the Brazilian Space Agency acts into our system of national development for space activities, but this work was done in the context of the United Nations Program for Development, of which Valentina is our consultant. So she acted between August of 2021 and 2022. And as we all know, it was a period of COVID pandemic, which impacted lots of education activities throughout Brazil, the whole world, and of course, in our own institution, the Brazilian Space Agency, the AB.
Bom, como nós estamos podendo ver no slide, né, esse dado da Unesco, disponível no site, aponta que mais de 50 milhões de estudantes brasileiros foram afetados pela pandemia devido à necessidade do distanciamento, né? No Brasil, infelizmente, os nossos resultados já não eram muito bons, né? Os resultados dos nossos estudantes já não eram muito bons antes da pandemia, e isso agravou muito, né? Especialmente os estudantes mais vulneráveis, aqueles sem acesso à tecnologia. Então, comprometeu bastante, né, as nossas metas do Plano Nacional de Educação.
So, as we can see here in the slide, the impact of social distance caused by the pandemic, it affected over 50 million students, and it impacted in a retrocess of our learning capabilities, especially with children, teenagers, and young people in a vulnerable situation of underprivileged social situation where they have little to no access to computational technology, or even in some cases a connection to the internet. Unfortunately, here in Brazil, we already had desiring results that impacted most of the region. And of course, after the pandemic, this got a lot worse. So what was already a big shift that was needed in our educational program, now it has become even more urgent throughout the last 2 years.
Isso aí. Bom, a agência, né, a EB, ela suspendeu as atividades, porque as atividades todas previstas eram presenciais, e constatou a necessidade de desenvolver atividades educacionais de forma híbrida ou remota, né, para que ela conseguisse, então, atingir o público.
Yeah, so that we could adapt to this new reality as it was happening, the Brazilian Space Agency decided to suspend its educational activities, basically because they were all presential activities. And we leveraged this opportunity, as if we can call it that, to review the needs of our educational projects, to better create strategies that could allow to reach our target public in a remote way or in hybrid ways.
Isso aí. Atualmente, né, não só no Brasil, mas no mundo inteiro, os governos, os docentes, as famílias, as instituições privadas, todos os setores da sociedade e as organizações até não governamentais estão unidas, né, com o propósito de recuperar a aprendizagem dos estudantes, né, de forma a garantir que eles tenham sucesso na trajetória educacional, né? E somente com esse esforço é que nós vamos, né, um esforço conjunto e engajado, é que nós vamos conseguir apoiar o desenvolvimento de aprendizagem das nossas crianças, jovens e adolescentes e jovens.
Yeah, so as it was said before, the government, the teachers, family, and private institutions of all sectors and organizations, government or not, in all of the world, are uniting around the same purpose, the same objective, which is to restart our educational programs and to help students to assure that their trajectory could follow in the most successful direction possible. And this is only made possible in a conjoint effort between engaged professionals so that we can support the development of and learning of our children, our teenagers, and our young professionals.
Danilo, next, please.
Yes. Yeah.
Bom, mais do que nunca agora, né, os pilares da educação para o século XXI, preconizados pela Unesco, eles são fundamentais para a discussão, né, que a gente faz a respeito da recuperação, né, dessa trajetória para atingir o sucesso, né? Eles foram divulgados em 2003, né, há alguns anos, e eles são muito importantes para esse desenvolvimento.
So, as most of the world, we are following the 21st Century Pillars of Education from UNESCO. They were published quite a long time ago, in 2003. And as you can see here on the slide, and they are our main guiding line for the next activities and how we plan to develop and repurpose our educational activities to assure the well-being and also the success of our future students.
Os 4 pilares, eles estabelecem a necessidade de aquisição de instrumentos de compreensão e domínio dos instrumentos de conhecimento para serem base da aprendizagem durante toda a vida. Isso seria o learn to know. Né? O desenvolvimento também de competências técnicas e sociais que possibilitam as pessoas, os sujeitos, a agir sobre o meio em que eles vivem. Então, seria o learn to do, né? O conhecimento sobre a sua própria história, a capacidade de cooperar com os outros, de participar de projetos comuns, de conviver, né? O learn to live. E, finalmente, integrado a esses 3 pilares, né? A capacidade do sujeito de discernir, de se autoconhecer e ter o autocuidado, o learn to be.
Yeah, so as these 4 pillars are explained here on the slide, they establish the need to acquire new instruments for comprehension and for development and maintenance of these instruments of knowledge that will be the basis for the learning activities throughout a person's whole life. So at first, this is what we call the learn to know. The development also of competencies, technical and social, that could allow a person to act on their own environment. So that will be the learn to do part of the equation. And also the knowledge of their own history and capability of cooperation and participation in common projects, and to share their life in a way to better the environment and the community for all the people. So that will be the learn to live. And also, if you integrate all of these last 3 pillars, with the discernment and the self-knowledge and the self-care, we get to our 4th pillar, which is learn to be.
E também é necessário lembrar, né, a questão, neste século da aprendizagem das crianças, o alinhamento com a Agenda 2030 da ONU, que trata dos Objetivos de Desenvolvimento Sustentáveis, né, especialmente nesse trabalho, esse estudo de caso apresentado, o ODS 4, que é Educação de Qualidade, e o ODS 5, que é a Igualdade de Gênero.
So, of course, it is very necessary to remember the importance in the context of infant and children learning, also for the adolescent and young people in this 21st century, to adapt them to the objectives of sustainable development from the United Nations that are that are aimed at the 2030 agenda of the UN, especially what we call the 4th and the 5 steps of education that are about quality education and gender equality.
Next, please. Bom, então, se a gente parte desses pilares e entende, né, que a educação nesse século XXI, ela se faz no aprender a ser, aprender a conhecer, aprender a conviver, né, aprender a fazer, a metodologia STEAM, né, ela possibilita um trabalho de interação entre os estudantes, né, os sujeitos, com os objetos de aprendizagem. E por meio de uma forma interdisciplinar, de uma forma transdisciplinar, por meio de experimentação prática, né, onde o erro é uma tentativa de acerto, né, e ela é uma excelente estratégia pedagógica, porque ela pressupõe que o aprender acontece no fazer, no hands-on, né? Por meio de projetos, pesquisas, a partir de um método científico, com resolução de problemas e o desenvolvimento do pensamento crítico.
Yeah, so as we have been talking about the necessity to learn to be, learn to live, and also everything that will be based on the interaction between people in these learning objectives, we focus on the need for practical experimentation where the mistake is not only a mistake, but also a person trying to get things right. So we can say that our methodology behind it, it's an interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary methodology that will integrate science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, so what we call STEAM, as an excellent strategy for pedagogic strategy that understand that learning only happens when you are doing by means of projects, research, scientific methods, and problem resolution, and also the development of critical thinking, which is essential, especially when we are talking about technology development and a space program.
Next. Please, né? Bom, no Brasil, a Base Nacional Comum Curricular, ela foi aprovada pelo Conselho Municipal, ou desculpe, Conselho Nacional de Educação em 2017, recente, né? E ela fala de 6 direitos básicos para os estudantes da educação infantil, aqui no Brasil, de 0 a 5 anos. Ela fala em 10 competências gerais, né, a serem desenvolvidas dos 6 aos 14 anos, e ela fala de consolidação dessas competências gerais na fase da adolescência, né, dos 15 aos 17 anos, quando as crianças, né, os adolescentes aqui no Brasil estão no ensino médio. Essa faixa etária, além, né, de prever a questão da consolidação dessas competências básicas, também há uma previsão de um trabalho, de um projeto de vida, né, e considera que a gente não tem só uma juventude, sim múltiplas juventudes. Então, tanto essa base nossa aqui do Brasil, quanto a metodologia STEAM, elas convergem para um protagonismo estudantil e apoiam o desenvolvimento dessas competências.
So this STEAM methodology that is also very 21st century is aligned with our national curriculum common base for learning that was approved by our National Council of Education in 2017, and it shows how everything aligns around the idea of putting the student as a protagonist of his own learning project, and establish the rights to learn for kids of up to 5 years. So what we call here the 6 basic children's rights. Also elementary and middle school, which is in Brazil, will be from 6 to 14 years old. And there we will talk about the 10 general development skills. And then following into our high school years, 15 to 17 years old, where we try to consolidate the previously acquired skills and turn them into life projects. And here we don't talk about only one youth, but multiple youths as these people, as these young people, they develop their own history of learning.
Next. A cultura maker, né, ela é muito baseada no fazer, né, na experimentação. Então, esse slide é mais para mostrar esse contexto da cultura maker e para introduzir o próximo.
Okay, so here we have just a quick slide where we talk about the maker culture, which is something that is fundamental for us in this discussion, proposing that you can do it yourself, you can inspire education by means of something significant. And following on to the next slide.
Yes, exato, exactly. A educação maker, apoiada numa cultura maker, ela propõe parâmetros fundamentais para a aprendizagem do século XXI, que é o aprender no fazer, a experimentação e a criação, os projetos, o empreendedorismo, a inovação, a criatividade, o aprender junto, né? o brincar como uma estratégia pedagógica, e tudo isso dentro de um contexto que tem uma intencionalidade pedagógica, né? Porque a gente está falando de uma educação que acontece dentro de uma instituição. Então, com essa perspectiva, né, e apoiado na metodologia STEAM, a educação maker promove aquelas e possibilita aquelas competências que são tão necessárias.
Yes. So as we are talking about an institution, so it's an intentional pedagogic activities. We lean on the maker culture to propose fundamental parameters so that learning could be brought to the 21st century, while we try to implement hands-on learning activities. Also, the idea of experimentation and creation, the idea of building projects and entrepreneurship, innovation, creativity, and also learning together. Well, they play as a strategy for education, what we call here play education, and also as they create these collaborative networks amongst them. All that aim to what we intentionally prospect to do, especially in this case, in the Brazilian Space Agency educational activities.
Next. Aí está, né? Na verdade, a ideia é essa, né? De que a gente, utilizando uma metodologia STEAM, apoiado numa educação maker, a gente consegue viabilizar uma aprendizagem significativa, né? E criativa para os estudantes, em especial nesse contexto atual. Né?
Yeah, so just wrapping everything on our motivation behind this study, we took a look at what is available as a STEAM and maker education methodology, and we profited to apply it in this very special and critical moment that is the pandemic and post-pandemic, to revamp our educational activities and bring them into a more current network and current setting.
Next. Bom, ciente da demanda, né, por novas perspectivas para o Programa Espacial Brasileiro, inclusive nas ações educacionais, a Agência Espacial Brasileira fez um acordo internacional de cooperação com o Programa das Nações Unidas para o Desenvolvimento, com o objetivo de desenvolver ações para fortalecer esse programa e apontar novas perspectivas.
So as we have explained, our motivations were exposed here before. So having these motivations, we decided to create a demand that was based on the United Nations Development Program. So the Brazilian Space Agency settled a cooperation with the UN in aiming at the development of and strengthening of the national space program, as we try to bring onto the table these new perspectives and strengthening our bases.
Bom, o acordo prevê... Sorry.
Sorry.
Daniel.
Yes.
Thank you. O acordo prevê 5 produtos, né? E a consultoria, o foco da consultoria foi o produto 2, que é o desenvolvimento de competências para o setor espacial, né? Então, o objetivo foi mesmo promover ações educacionais em STEAM que inspirassem crianças e jovens para a carreira nesse setor.
So this cooperation, it predicted 5 different products, and today's topic being around the second topic, which is the development of competencies for the space sector, as we try to look for talents and stimulate our population into coming into our sector and helping with the space program, from the basic education up until young students and young professionals, with a focus on developing education activities in STEAM that could inspire and stimulate our young people into following a career in the space sector.
Bom, a primeira ação, então, foi a realização de um diagnóstico que procurou responder a essas 2 perguntas, né? Qual era a situação da agência com relação às ações educacionais e quais as perspectivas para o futuro, e como desenvolver parcerias a partir desse acordo que foi feito com o Programa das Nações Unidas, né, o PNUD. Foram realizados inicialmente um diagnóstico para conhecer essas ações, né? E também foram mapeados projetos nacionais em STEAM e sites de agências espaciais internacionais que pudessem inspirar a agência em parcerias com foco no Programa Espacial Brasileiro e em novas perspectivas educacionais alinhadas ao contexto do século XXI que a gente discutiu nos slides anteriores.
So following this second product of our cooperation, the first action was to realize a diagnostic of what we had as educational activities, but also looking at what's available internationally and in other space programs so that we could bring everything together and try to make the best basis for a national STEAM program that could direct and align space activities, educational activities also into the context of this new century, as we had presented in the previous slides.
Então, a metodologia adotada no diagnóstico foi a pesquisa exploratória, descritiva, porque o prazo foi muito curto. Então, o diagnóstico foi realizado no mês de setembro do ano passado, né? E a coleta, o universo pesquisado foi a própria agência e esses sites, né, de agências internacionais, e também projetos educacionais de instituições aqui no Brasil, e a coleta de dados ela aconteceu por observação direta, por meio de análise dos documentos da agência, foram realizadas também entrevistas semi-estruturadas com gestores e reuniões técnicas.
So the first methodology that was used and adopted here, considering that we didn't have much time and it was actually an emergency response to what was happening around the world, we did an exploratory research and descriptive research of the universe that was in the overview of the Brazilian Space Agency by collecting data and doing direct and indirect observation by means of documental analysis and by interviews that was semi-structured and by the participation of technical meetings.
Next, please. Bom, os resultados do diagnóstico, eles apontaram fortalezas, oportunidades, fraquezas e ameaças, né? Com relação às fortalezas, a gente pôde verificar, né, o apoio da alta gestão, a qualidade técnica da equipe da agência e o engajamento nas ações educacionais, né? E como oportunidades, a gente aponta o New Space, que promove, né, possibilita e fomenta a capacitação de jovens e estudantes para atuação em setores na área aeroespacial, o acordo que a agência fez com o PNUD e a promoção da ciência e da tecnologia reconhecida, né, aqui no Brasil e mundialmente como fundamental para a sociedade em decorrência da pandemia.
So here, analyzing our strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. First, our strengths relied mostly on our upper management engagement and quality of the team, as we try to revamp and to understand our actions. As we looked upon the new opportunities, mostly relying on the new space revolution, as we can say that, and capacity building. Also seeing great opportunity in our cooperation with the United Nations Development Program, and highlighting the science and technology that was needed due to the pandemic, and that we could take the opportunity to implement it in our educational system.
Sim, e a pouca ação intersetorial, né, dentro da agência, a falta de atualização das informações sobre a política educacional e os registros, né, o pouco registro, a falta de registros e divulgação dessa política representaram fraquezas, né? O diagnóstico apontou isso. E uma das ameaças para as atividades educacionais, né, que foi levantado, por ser a agência um órgão público federal, foi a questão da mudança do governo, né, a não linearidade, né, de políticas governamentais. E essa descontinuidade é realmente uma ameaça para qualquer projeto, especialmente projetos educacionais. E, em decorrência das fraquezas relativas à falta de registro e divulgação da política, outra ameaça, então, apontada é a questão das parcerias não estarem adequadas à real demanda, aos objetivos.
Yes, so considering that we have a fairly big space program in Brazil, there was a weakness in the intersection between different actions from different pieces of our space program and their educational activities, and also that there were outdated educational information, so lack of documentation or maybe a lack of a renewal of our educational activities. Also the registration and the dissemination of the regulations that were needed to do that. And that would follow into some pretty clear threats that, first of all, considering that the Brazilian Space Agency is a governmental entity, and we can always count on the changes in government to impact policies that will change our aim and our main objectives, that will bring into the non-linearity of our activities. And that, on the other hand, we could bring a lack of synergy between the partnerships and objectives. And that can be very harmful if you think that we were developing activities that were not necessarily in parallel with the reality of the moment and with the new objectives of our space program.
Danilo, vamos confirmar só quanto tempo a gente ainda tem, por favor?
Yes, please, David, just to confirm how much time we have, since we'll be going on 2 languages here, maybe we are losing a bit track of time.
You have about 20 minutes or so before we are done. And of course, that's the end of the presentation. So if we have some people that are here, maybe 10 minutes to give people a chance to ask questions if they have any. And I see you're a little bit more than halfway through. So I'll leave you folks to decide how you'd like to handle that. But about, put it this way, 15 minutes maximum is probably a good time to leave a little bit of chance for questions, if that makes sense.
Perfect.
Awesome,
Então,
thank you.
Vamos tentar segurar entre 10 a 15 minutos para deixar tempo para as perguntas e respostas.
Terminar em 10 minutos. Então, vamos lá, vamos agilizar.
There we go.
Bom, o mapeamento, então, das tecnologias, ele se baseou nos objetivos, né, do termo de cooperação técnica com o PNUD e também nos preceitos legais, né, da BNCC, nas atividades realizadas no programa IB Escola, no CVT espacial, bem como nos projetos desenvolvidos pelas academias aqui no Brasil e também na demanda, né, social econômica, industrial.
So much like it was mentioned for the space program, the Brazilian Space Agency centered this activity, this mapping activity, on some different pieces, such as the Brazilian Agency for Cooperation and its legal network, or common curriculum educational basis, of course, the UN Program for Development, the previous activities that were being carried on by the space agencies, such as what we call AEB School, and our CVT, which is the Brazilian Space Camp, as well as the universities and the industries and everything else that could influence our activities.
Bom, os objetivos do mapeamento estão aí descritos no slide, né? E eu acho que o mais importante é dizer que eles precisaram ser muito bem definidos, né, junto com a equipe da agência, porque o prazo foi curto, então, para que fosse bastante assertivo as parcerias que foram desenvolvidas. E eu considero que o objetivo relativo ao fornecimento de subsídios para a agência, né, apoiar efetivamente a promoção da educação de qualidade no Brasil, foi a maior contribuição, ao meu ver, desse trabalho.
So this slide describes our main objectives in this mapping, and it was very important to notice that it was a challenge, but it was feasible to realize the mapping on a continental country like Brazil, and also in a period of 2 months, which is quite not enough time. And for that, we needed a lot of clarity and a lot of honesty between the upper management of the Brazilian Space Agency and Valentina that was doing this work as a consultant, so that we could direct our results and our analysis into real results that could be directly applied to promote the higher quality of education in Brazil as a contribution of this study.
Next, please. O mapeamento ele se iniciou pelas instituições que já tinham feito algum contato com a agência e se ampliou a partir das primeiras entrevistas, né, dos primeiros contatos. No total, então, foram entrevistadas 23 pessoas, sendo 21 professores, né, de curso superior, que atuam em instituições universitárias, 2 empresários das 2 startups e os professores das 10 instituições. E os projetos, né, mapeados foram organizados em 4 categorias, né, projetos com atividades presenciais, projetos relativos ao desenvolvimento de conteúdo digital e projetos relativos ao desenvolvimento de plataformas digitais e, finalmente, relativos ao estabelecimento de núcleos vocacionais em STEAM.
So here, bringing everything together, we decided in conjecture from AB and Valentina that we needed to map 10 different educational institutes, as well as interview 23 different people, being them 21 professors from our universities, and also 2 people from 2 startups, so that we could start organizing our projects and separating them into 4 different categories, with projects with educational activities on presential, also projects for the development of digital content, and the development of a digital platform so that we can implement the vocational nucleus of STEAM in our activities.
Next. O mapa apresenta, né, a distribuição dos entrevistados no território nacional, né, no território brasileiro, e é possível constatar que não foram, todas as regiões foram mapeadas, né, em decorrência do prazo, mas também isso torna uma nova perspectiva para a agência pode, então, agora, né, empreender um mapeamento mais vasto aqui no Brasil, mais amplo, que pegue todas as regiões e até a própria América Latina, né? Então, é só para trazer essa ilustração mesmo.
Yes, here it's pretty interesting because you can see the geographic challenges that we have in Brazil. It's a fairly big country, so and also having such a short time frame, we could not reach all of it in the mapping. So we chose different regions to bring as a pilot study. And of course, it gives us a very good perspective of what should be done regarding the rest of the country. And of course, why not expand it to the Latin America and realizing it not only as a national agency, but looking into our whole region.
Então, após a apresentação do mapeamento para os gestores da agência, então, ficaram definidos, né, duas primeiras parcerias a serem feitas através, né, do acordo de cooperação técnica com o PNUD, por meio de um instrumento que o PNUD adota que chama Carta Acordo, né? Se quiser traduzir, Daniel?
Yes, yes. So after this initial mapping, Valentina presented to us the upper management of the AAB and defined two first partnerships that could be made during what we call letters of agreement with different institutions.
Yes.
And yes, here, as you can see, we have our Federal University of Rio Grande do Norte, which is at the northeast of Brazil, as well as our Technological Institute of Aeronautics, which is our most prestigious engineering school.
A parceria com o ITA, né, o Instituto de Tecnologia da Aeronáutica, de Aeronáutica, ela já está assinada, já está fechada, já vai começar, né? E ela prevê capacitação de 14 estudantes da graduação e pós-graduação, 20 docentes e 30 estudantes da educação básica, para o desenvolvimento de oficinas de fibra ótica, geoplano, células solares, circuito elétrico e Arduino, em 10 escolas públicas de São José dos Campos, em São Paulo.
So here is where it gets interesting for us. There's a first letter of agreement that was already signed with the Technological Institute of Aeronautics that predicts the training of 14 students, undergrad and postgrad, also 20 professors and 30 students of the basic education for the development of educational activities involving fiber optics, geoplane, solar cells, electric circuits, and Arduinos in 10 different public schools in the city of São José dos Campos in São Paulo.
Só está previsto também, Danilo, é importante dizer, né, a entrega de conteúdo digital, e-books e vídeos tutoriais dessas oficinas para que seja replicado, então, nacionalmente, né?
Yes, yes. So I agree with Valentina that this is one of the most important parts, that we also predict the development and distribution of digital content in the form of ebooks and tutorial videos for each one of these 5 different workshops that we mentioned. For posterior, I would say, utilization, yes, yes, utilization and appropriation by other students and other teachers in all of the countries, so we could get the ball rolling and see if they develop some autonomy as well.
Ainda nesse slide, Danilo, a parceria com a Universidade Federal do Rio Grande do Norte está em processo de assinatura, e o foco dela são meninas e jovens mulheres. Ela tem
Yes,
foco.
And this is very interesting as well, the partnership through the letter of agreement with the Federal University of Rio Grande do Norte, which is in the process of being signed. I promise we are going to rush with that, Valentina. And it aims mostly at girls, so student girls from schools and also from our young students, so they can develop national rocket educations in our public schools in the metropolitan region of Natal, in Rio Grande do Norte.
Isso aí. Vamos pro... Tá terminando.
Almost there, almost there.
Vamos lá. Bom, esse trabalho, né, todo esse caso, todo esse trabalho de diagnóstico, mapeamento realizado, ele fomentou discussões na agência, né? Dentre elas, a necessidade de estabelecer e promover uma política educacional alinhada à legislação educacional, e ao Programa Espacial Brasileiro, né, o desenvolvimento de metodologia STEAM aplicada ao setor espacial, a constituição de centros espaciais, né, para recursos educacionais, profissionalizantes, inclusive, em todas as regiões do Brasil, em consonância com a política da EB e do Programa Espacial Brasileiro, e a consolidação da agência como referência de política educacional para o espaço, né? Por meio de intercâmbios entre os estudantes. Então, isso tudo está sendo discutido lá na agência.
Yes, yes. So it's true that it really is being discussed at the moment in the agency, as these actions, they provided a lot of arguments and materials so that we could try to understand the need to establish and to promote a national education politic with enough space to be aligned with the legislation framework in Brazil and also to our space program, so that we could really be aligned in the direction of the development of a STEAM methodology that is adapted to our reality and applied to our space sector. And also through the formation of space centers with real educational resources and also professional resources in all of the regions of Brazil. And that also runs in tandem with our politics from AB and from our space program. We also look to establish the Brazilian Space Agency as a reference for educational politics for space in Brazil by the means of exchanging students in the topics of STEAM between students from fundamental and from basic education, as well as higher education in Brazil and also abroad.
Next. Bom, vamos nas conclusões, né, Danilo? E acho que a gente consegue terminar agora nos próximos 3 minutinhos. As conclusões estão descritas aí no slide, então a gente não precisa ler, mas é importante dizer que essas ações, elas são pioneiras no âmbito da agência, né? Há uma necessidade de avaliar mais qualitativamente, né, as ações educacionais que são implementadas pela agência, é possível constatar que há um engajamento da população, das pessoas, quando a gente desenvolve ações educacionais, né? Então, isso colabora muito, né? Finalmente, é importante dizer, né, que as propostas, elas precisam ser adaptadas para o público, e o momento político que foi realizado esse mapeamento, todo esse trabalho, ele foi um momento muito favorável para as mudanças, né? E novas definições com relação à política educacional.
Yeah, so given the current situation, well, for good and also for bad reasons, considering the pandemics, we had a favorable moment for change in our educational system, in the definition of new relations given our educational policy. So these are mostly our conclusions. I will try not to read them all, but it is really important to understand that we had a deep need for documentation and for a real qualitative study of the impact of our educational system and our educational activities as we try to implement programs and as we try to really engage the public into meaningful activities that will provoke changes in our society. So we did have a lot of educational programs, but we were just doing them. We weren't really studying them. So I guess now with Valentina's help, we have an upper hand as we try to follow our new educational programs or old educational programs, but made new and brought into this 21st century.
Next.
Yes, and here, yes, I have the pleasure to present for a couple of seconds as we bring this discussion to an end. Some first applications in Brazilian's first space camp, which is the CVTE. It's actually in the region that I coordinate. It's a lot of fun. We receive the students from 15 to 16 years old in a very underprivileged region in Brazil as we simulate a real space program and do hands-on problem solving and activities, team activities involving everything that we cited here. So from rockets to satellites, Arduinos, and rovers, and everything that could bring together this idea of a real project and interaction as they feel that they themselves are able to conduct experiments and understand something that would normally be outside of their reach. So this will bring us to the end of our presentation. Please feel free to ask us any questions regarding our new or prospective educational activities and programs. And thank you all for the attention. Thank you, Valentina, for the excellent work done.
Thank you, Danilo.
It really gave us a lot
Daisy.
of, yes. And we are expecting real changes from now on.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Great to see the things you had, and then it went well, and I appreciate you guys getting through this with 5 minutes left. That's an excellent time. So we have some people that are here. If you have questions, now's a great time to ask in the chat function. You're welcome to do so, and then we can offer Valentina and Danilo a chance to answer questions. If you have questions, feel free to type in there. I've actually got the chat function open. We'll wait a few minutes for that.
Yes, and while we wait a few minutes, I'll just take the time to make a small affirmation, a small idea here that when we think about it, 50 years ago, we were going to the moon, but I guess if we asked the people 100 years ago, if in 50 years we will be going to the moon, I guess people would call you crazy, right? And if you ask people 50 years ago that if students in universities would be able to make, build, test, and integrate their own satellites as they were launched into orbits in the next 30 years, you would also be called crazy. So when we look at our objectives and our prospections, we are happy to affirm that we will also try to do some crazy things during the next decades as we try to venture into some new possibilities.
That's correct. Those are excellent points, and these are parts of the themes for this year's conference as well. Returning to the moon. So very nice job. Excellent. Are you both? I meant to ask you when we started, and I'm sorry for not asking that. Are you both in Brazil right now?
I am actually in France right now, following an international space conference, but I'll be back in Natal in a couple of days to continue our activities with our students and implement a Valentina study.
Okay, and Valentina, I think you gave a thumbs. You're in Brazil right now.
Yes, I am Brazil, Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais.
Okay. All right, excellent. That's fantastic. And that's another thing somebody would have probably called you crazy even 10 years ago, to be able to have a conference with people on 3 different continents all at once, talking in live time and doing so without any glitches. I think people would have doubted that that's possible as well. So that's another point. So, well, okay, we're nearly out of time. I don't see questions here, but I'd like to be clear. First of all, Tinsley is in the background, and Tinsley was our tech support. So thank her for being here. Valentina and Danilo, thank you so much for accomplishing this presentation, and that you did an awful lot, not only covering your material, but then translating between the 2 languages, which is impressive and amazing. So thank you so much for your hard work. And I wish you continued best luck as you continue with what you're doing for the children that are in Brazil. That's excellent. And it's great for you to share it for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I hope you folks have a wonderful evening. Go ahead, Danilo. Sorry.
Yes. Just a small observation, just to say that with our space camp, we have touched over 4,500 approximately students in the last 4 years. And we are looking forward to doing some impact activities and also to sharing them with you and all the like-minded people around education and space activities in the future. So thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Valentina, as well. And thank you, Tinsley, for the support.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's great for you guys to join us. Hope you folks have a wonderful day and safe travels, Danilo, back to Brazil.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.